We do not get energy independence in this country ever by destroying coal, period. End of story. The leaders around this country don't have it figured out either, but they all figured out and came to the same basic conclusion. And instead of me trying to paraphrase what our leaders have said, I'd like to just take a couple of minutes and show y'all. Mr. Long, would you please?
For in the final analysis, our most basic common link is that we all inhabit this small planet. We all breathe the same air. We all cherish our children's futures, and we are all mortal.
For decades, our leaders have warned of the perils of neglecting our environment and importing more and more of our energy.
We are the creation of our environment. If it becomes filthy and sordid, then the dignity of the spirit, the deepest of our values, immediately are in danger.
Let this be our national goal. At the end of this decade, in the year 1980, the United States will not be dependent on any other country for the energy we need.
Today we are 40% dependent, and we'll pay out $34 billion for foreign oil this year. Such vulnerability at present or in the future is intolerable and must be ended.
Our excessive dependence on foreign oil is a clear and present danger to our nation's security.
The energy problem is a crisis now, but it can be an historic opportunity to free America forever from dependence on unstable foreign oil that can be turned on and off at will by those who would use world commerce for economic blackmail and coercion.
We want to build an energy future that's based on a range of diverse sources, so that never again will this nation's energy well-being be swayed by events in any single foreign country.
In the new century, innovations in science and technology will be key not only to the health of the environment, but to miraculous improvements in the quality of our lives and advances in the economy.
America must become more energy independent, and we will.
By 2035, 80% of America's electricity will come from clean energy sources. Some folks want wind and solar. Others want nuclear, clean coal, and natural gas. To meet this goal, we will need them all.
The truth is that we have near limitless supplies of energy in our country. Powered by new innovation and technology, we are now on the cusp of a true energy revolution.
This country of the United States was not built by those who waited and rested and wished to look behind them. This country was conquered by those who move forward.
That's what folks have said. And you know what? If you think about all of them and you put it together, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is unlocking here the true value of coal. I want to thank the National Coal Council and the Department of Energy for asking us to be here and share a few thoughts with you guys. And, you know, I think back about the first time we started looking at what we were going to do to try to help unlock the true value of coal. As a mayor in a small Texas town, jobs are very important to us because you've only got a few key industries. And in our case, fortunately or unfortunately, they're steel, they're coal, they're oil, they're gas, and they're power. That's all we have. And if we lose that, the future of our small town America is dead. Because when our children have to move in order to be able to have a future where they can take care of their families and their children and their grandchildren, the United States of America that we grew up with, and the innovation that we had can be gone. I don't want to see that happen. So we began to look at how we could come up with a method that could save jobs, create new jobs. The current term, I believe, is green jobs. I think that's right. Create exports, preserve the use of coal, power, U.S.-made steel, oil and gas, and refining. And we knew that whatever that technology was going to be, or technologies, we knew absolutely we could not depend on government support. Where we have been lagging the dog, guys, in my opinion, for many, many decades, is sort of like in the city of Fairfield, we have a fund that's called Hotel Motel Fund that organizations can come to, and they can ask for money for their projects that hopefully will do something to bring people to Fairfield, Texas. The problem with that fund is that people get so accustomed to coming and asking for the money and getting the city of Fairfield to just write them a check that they forgot how to go out and hustle, how to go out and organize, how to go out and get people, get volunteers, get involved in what they're doing. And that sometimes is what our federal government would do for us. What we need to be doing is using the federal government for its real role, and that is to not pay for everything, but let them help us to get together as a team and solve these problems. We're all going to be better off if we do that. That does not mean they're not involved, because they have so many far-reaching ways that they can help all of us as a team get together. But we're going to have to start working together. We're going to have to start talking to each other. We're going to have to start figuring out where our technologies can work together and how, as a country, we can solve our own problems and truly have our complete energy independence and create net exports. And that's not just in oil or gas, but that's also in coal, and we can do it. We spent 9 years, $232 million that came out of our pockets, mostly mine and the gentleman sitting way back there in the back, Charlie Monclaw, who is one of my directors and major shareholders. And what we found is that you can take any form of coal in this country, you can crush it, you can silt it, screen it, better term, get your pyritics out of it. You can run it through a low-speed pyrolysis, which we call distillation. And in that process, which is very low pressure, you can take that coal, and about half of that original body will turn into gases, which can be condensed, the majority of, and turned into two liquid products. One of them is a heavy, sweet, low sulfur, low mercury oil. One of them is a series of about 101 or 2 chemical solvents with water that can be utilized in worlds of different fields, but the coolest place it can be utilized is to add just a wee bit more ammonia to it, and it will absorb the CO2 out of any gas stream you come up with. Now, we don't have big towers, and we don't have multi-billion-dollar projects, but we can capture and absorb the CO2. Do we want to sequester it? No. What do we want to do with it? We want to take it to the oil patch. Let them squirt it back in the hole, use it for secondary recovery, such as in our area, Permian Basin would be a big area, and let them use that for their drilling, use that for their completion, and let them use that for their secondary and tertiary recovery in the oil patch, and it'll work. Now, then what do? When you recover that water, run it back through the process and use it again. Just keep using it. Now, the oil, that's easy. You take that to the refineries or the chemical plants, depending on which one wants it. And each one of these is a product. And then we have a syngas product that is about 45% hydrogen. Now, I was talking to a lady here this morning that I'd never met before last night, and she's talking about, said, we need to get together and talk. We can show you something you can do as a market with that hydrogen and pull it out of there. Well, we're going to be talking Monday morning. Now, that's communication, guys. What else do we end up with? We end up with a product that we've got trademarked and called Colite. Colite is much lower in sulfur. It burns very efficiently. It burns consistently efficiently, both. It is a product that is very, very low in mercury. It is a product that transports well. It does not absorb very, very little water. Don't have to get into the problems that Warren Buffett got into with open rail cars, because the particle dust isn't there to come off when you're running across the United States. And it's much higher in BTUs. So we have come up with a process that creates multiple revenue streams. And if you will take coal and quit worrying about just digging it up and dumping it in a boiler or putting it on a ship and sending it overseas, and start taking that coal and thinking, what can I really do with this? And when we got started, I read a book called Coal by a guy, Dr. Moore. Tom, do you remember his first name? Elwood Moore. And I was shocked about halfway through that book at all the different elements that were in there. We had a trip up to Pittsburgh fairly recently, and somebody started educating me a little bit on rare earth. So I went back home and I got that book out and I started glancing through it, and I said, there's a bunch of this in coal. So now we've got a project going to try to see if we can't figure out what else, Dan, that Gosler can send you, that maybe we can help try to figure out how we can create that and quit having to buy it from China, for Pete's sake. Buy it right here in the United States. Let's sell China something. What we did find, though, in one of our most recent sets of work, is that we were asked to work on some bituminous coal from the Northeast, perhaps Ohio, perhaps maybe one state on the other side of the mountain, somewhere up in that area. And what we found was, in running it through our equipment, that we could actually coke that coal. Now, that was a big surprise to us. Our hope was just to be able to get the volatiles out of it. But we found out we could also coke it, which takes a huge economic impact on the spread that is there for the coal producers, for the steel makers that want to do things in this country to make them be more competitive in the world market. And guys, we're going to have to become the leaders. It's not going to happen if we don't do it, and we're here to help. Our door is open. We're here for you guys. And anybody that wants our help, wants our involvement, would just give us a call, because that's what we're here for. And I hope and sincerely believe that if we will all do this, we can become the sleeping tiger of the energy of the world. The coal industry, if you think about it, outside of burning a few sticks, goes clear back to the caveman days. I don't believe we were producing oil and gas. I think other than what God gave us out of the sky, nobody knew anything about solar. and winds what blew the apples off the trees. Maybe that's what got us in trouble in the first place. I'm not sure. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys, and I'm going to read a note from my boss at home, and she said, honey, remember who you voted for president, and be sure you tell them CETA is ready to go to work for you and with you to make the American coal industry great again. Thank you, and God bless.